My online best friend walked into my apartment building wearing my missing blue scarf and using the spare key I had only ever told Mara about. The lobby smelled like rain and burnt coffee, and I stood frozen behind the mailboxes while the man I'd seen every Tuesday at my co-working space whispered my name like he owned it. My name is Lena Ortiz. I was 29 then, a freelance UX designer living in a one-bedroom apartment in Portland, paying $1,875 a month for cracked hardwood floors and a view of a brick wall. Mara Klein was my closest online friend for almost 3 years. We met in a private design Discord during lockdown, bonded over bad clients, thrift store lamps, and our mutual hatred of fonts that looked like toothpaste logos. She said she was 32, lived in Seattle, and worked remotely for a nonprofit. She knew everything. My mother's recipe for arroz con pollo. My breakup with Daniel. My fear of starting my own studio. I sent her voice notes from my kitchen while the radiator hissed and my cat, Juniper, knocked pens off the counter. "You're the only person who gets me," I told her once. Her reply came instantly. "Always, Lena. I'm not going anywhere." The first strange thing was the lavender candle. I bought it at a tiny shop on Hawthorne on March 3rd, paid cash, never posted about it. That night Mara messaged, "Bet your place smells like lavender now." My fingers paused over my keyboard. I remember the hum of my refrigerator sounding suddenly too loud. Then my co-working desk moved. I always sat by the north window at Hatchworks, where the air smelled like printer toner and burnt espresso. One Tuesday, a sticky note was on my monitor, "Saved your spot." No name. Mara later joked, "Window light is your brand." The third sign was my scarf. Blue wool, silver threads, a gift from my grandmother. It vanished from my coat rack in January. Mara said, "Maybe Juniper is hoarding it." I laughed. I actually laughed. The truth hit on April 12th at 6:41 p.m. Rain tapped the lobby windows like fingernails. I was crouched behind the mailboxes because I'd dropped my electric bill. The elevator doors opened with a tired ding, and a man stepped in from the vestibule, shaking water from his black umbrella. Miles Kerr. Late 30s, quiet, the IT contractor who fixed the Wi-Fi at Hatchworks. He always smelled faintly of peppermint gum. Around his neck was my blue scarf. In his hand was a key. My spare key. The one I kept under a loose brick in the planter outside my apartment door because I was careless and trusted the wrong universe. I had only told Mara after locking myself out in February. Miles looked toward the stairs and whispered, "Lena?" My throat closed. My palms went slick and cold. I stood up too fast, and the metal mailbox door clanged behind me. He turned. For 1 second, his face went empty. Then he smiled. "Lena," he said softly. "You're home early." My ears rang so hard his words sounded underwater. I backed toward the glass door. "Why do you have my scarf?" He blinked like I'd asked the wrong question. "You said you missed it." I said that to Mara. His smile twitched. "Mara is complicated," he said. The lobby smelled suddenly sour, like wet wool and panic. I ran outside into the rain, shaking so badly I dropped my phone twice before calling my landlord. By midnight, the betrayal had grown teeth. My landlord, Priya, met me in the hallway with a screwdriver and changed my lock while Juniper hid under the couch. The old deadbolt clicked loose, metallic and final. Priya's face tightened when I told her about Miles. "He called me last week," she said. "Said he was your cousin. Asked if I could confirm your unit number for a delivery." My stomach dropped. Then I opened my laptop with trembling hands and started searching. Mara's profile photo? A stock image from a wellness blog in 2017. Her Seattle nonprofit? Real, but no Mara Klein worked there. The number she once gave me for emergencies traced to an internet phone app. The worst part was my Google Drive. 2 years earlier, Mara had offered to help organize my freelance contracts. "I'm weirdly good at file systems," she'd said. I'd given her access to one folder. Inside, I found a hidden shared subfolder named Lena References. Screenshots of my calendar. Client invoices. Photos I'd sent privately. Notes about my routines. One line made my skin go cold. Tuesday, 8:40 a.m. black coffee. North window. Smiles at barista. He hadn't just lied. He had studied me. I spent the next week sleeping with every light on. The refrigerator hum became footsteps. The elevator ding made my chest tighten. I checked the lock 6 times, then 6 more. Juniper's little bell jingled in the dark, and I sat upright, heart hammering, tasting metal in my mouth. Mara kept messaging. Please don't be scared. I protected you. You're making this uglier than it has to be. I didn't answer. My hands hovered over the keyboard at 3 a.m., burning with things I wanted to say. But fear has a smell: stale sheets, cold coffee, your own sweat, and mine filled the whole apartment. The turning point came when a package arrived on April 18th. It was addressed to Lena Kerr. Inside was a custom return address stamp with my first name and his last name curled together in cheerful script. I stared at it on my kitchen table while rain slid down the window. Then something in me snapped clean. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just a hard click. I whispered, no more. I called my older sister, Valeria, who worked as a paralegal in Sacramento and had the calm voice of a judge. Do not confront him alone, she said. Screenshots. Backups. Timeline. Police report. Lawyer. Employer. All of it. For the next 10 days, I became methodical. I bought a $14 notebook from Powell's and wrote every incident in black ink, dates, times, messages, witnesses. Priya gave me the security footage from the lobby. Hatchworks manager, Owen, pulled badge logs showing Miles had accessed the building on days he wasn't scheduled. My attorney, Rebecca Shaw, sent preservation letters to Discord, Google, and Miles's IT company, Northline Systems. Then we set a trap. I created a fake private calendar event titled Meeting with Daniel, considering moving back in. Daniel was my ex. Only someone with illegal access to my calendar would see it. The location, Table 19 at Café Alder, 7 p.m., May 2nd. Rebecca arranged for a plainclothes officer and Owen to be nearby. I wore a red coat, my grandmother's earrings, and a microphone clipped under my collar. My mouth was so dry the first sip of tea felt like sand. At 6:58, Miles walked in. He scanned the cafe, jaw tight, rain glittering on his shoulders. The place smelled like cinnamon and steamed milk. My pulse thudded in my wrists. He slid into the chair across from me. Where is Daniel? He asked. I folded my hands so he wouldn't see them shake. How did you know I was meeting Daniel? His eyes flicked to my laptop bag. You told me. No, I said. I told my calendar. For the first time, he looked afraid. He stood quickly, chair scraping loud enough to turn heads. This is cruel, Lena. I kept my voice steady. Cruel was pretending to be my friend for 3 years. He leaned close, peppermint sharp on his breath. Mara listened when no one else did. Rebecca stepped from the pastry counter, phone in hand. And Miles accessed her accounts without permission. Owen rose from a corner table, his face pale. Miles, Northline has been trying to reach you. Miles looked around like the walls had moved. Then the officer approached. Mr. Kerr, we need to speak with you outside. He pointed at me, not yelling, but shaking with rage he could barely contain. She wanted someone who understood her. I finally let the anger show. My nails dug into my palms under the table. I wanted a friend, I said. You built a cage and called it understanding. The cafe went silent except for the hiss of the espresso machine. But the real climax came 2 weeks later, in the conference room at Hatchworks. Northline Systems requested a formal meeting after Rebecca sent them the evidence. I walked in with my sister on speakerphone, Rebecca beside me, and a folder thick enough to make the HR director stop smiling. The room smelled like dry erase markers and nervous sweat. Miles sat at the far end in a gray shirt, eyes fixed on the table. His manager, a woman named Claudia, opened the file. "Mr. Kerr, did you use company equipment to access private accounts belonging to Ms. Ortiz?" He swallowed. "I was helping her." Rebecca slid a printed screenshot across the table. "This is a folder labeled Lena References. This is a badge log. This is lobby footage. This is the fake calendar event only an unauthorized viewer could have seen." Claudia's mouth tightened. I placed the custom stamp on the table. Lena Kerr. The plastic clicked against the wood like a tiny verdict. Miles stared at it, and the color drained from his face. "You ordered that?" Claudia asked. He whispered, "It was supposed to be symbolic." I looked straight at him. My voice didn't shake this time. "You stole my name, my privacy, my trust, and my peace. You don't get to make any of that romantic." The HR director closed the folder. "Your contract is terminated effective immediately." The officer waiting outside served him with a protective order. A week later, he was charged with unauthorized computer access, identity misuse, and unlawful entry connected to the key incident. When local tech clients heard what happened, Northline lost 3 contracts and issued a public apology. Miles tried sending one last message through a new account, "You ruined my life." I forwarded it to Rebecca. Her reply was 5 words, "Thank you for the evidence." The consequences came fast. Miles pleaded guilty to reduced charges, paid restitution for my legal fees and security upgrades, and was barred from working in positions with private client access. Hatchworks changed its entire vendor policy because of my case. Priya installed new cameras and refused to charge me for the lock changes. And me? I stopped renting a desk by the north window. I opened my own tiny studio in a sunlit office above a bakery on Division, where the air smells like butter and fresh coffee every morning. My first quarter, I made $38,000, more than I'd ever made freelancing alone. I adopted a second cat, Miso, who steals receipts and has terrible timing. Valeria visited in July, looked around my new office, and said, "This feels like you took your life back." I smiled because she was wrong. I didn't take it back. I rebuilt it stronger. For months, Miles had watched me like I was a story he could rewrite. He thought knowing my routines meant knowing me. He mistook my kindness for permission and my trust for weakness. Now my locks are changed, my accounts are secure, my name is mine, and my life is louder, brighter, and freer than it ever was when he was hiding in the shadows. He wanted to become part of my world,